Hello, everyone. Welcome to today's podcast. Our guest of today is Michelle, and she's the CMO of Vetty. And yeah, Michelle, why don't you tell a little bit more about yourself, about your background, and what the company is doing?
Hey, Joey. Thanks so much for having me. Hey, everyone. My name is Michelle Meehan. I am the CMO at Vetty. Vetty is a hiring acceleration platform. We do all of those things from the minute you offer someone a job to the minute they're active in their role. So think employment verifications, background screenings, health checks, occupational health, I-9s, all of those unsexy things. We take care of them in a single platform for you that's fully customizable.
Very nice. And towards all the companies you guys are serving, like which type of company benefits the most from what you guys are doing?
We service highly regulated industries. We're talking about healthcare staffing, also healthcare itself, staffing itself, and then dipping our toe into regulated industries that exist outside of that. So think things like gig manufacturing, logistics.
Very nice. And towards like, what makes you guys like actually move into this specific niches as you're talking about, like the healthcare one from other companies, which possibly could be out there?
Yes. So our company story is really unique in that we had two tech founders who came from a competitor and noticed there was an inability to really serve healthcare staffing well. And so what they did is went in to build something that was completely designed for healthcare staffing, which is sort of the hardest regulated industry to service first. And then in doing so, they were able to service all of these other industries really well as well.
Yeah, I love what you're saying. Like dip your toes into the most difficult industry. And
Yes,
because you're able to,
figure out the hardest thing
right?
first.
And once you actually figure out the hardest thing first, like everything else what you're doing after that, it's actually a lot easier. I love it. It's like same with life. Like once you're, they say like there's this famous habit, right, in life. Like once you start a day, you have to kill the frog first. And what they mean by killing the frog first is doing like the most difficult thing first. And you can translate it into business as well, what you were saying, right?
Yes, 100%.
Yeah, I love that. And let's say you being part of like Fedi, and maybe we can even talk a little bit broader than that. Like, what are some of the biggest challenges you have faced towards like you growing the business, and how did you solve those challenges?
Yeah, so I have a lot of experience growing businesses, both on two sides of a coin. So I'm the CMO at Vetty, and Vetty is the third scale up company I've been at in a row. And I also own my own boutique consultancy called The Silver Thread, where I work with people who are starting out, either they're in the angel stage or the Series A stage, really founder focused and giving people advice on how to grow. And I think the biggest challenge is, when you're working with founders, it's their baby. It's their baby. It's something that they've created, they've worked really hard for. Perhaps they've made a lot of personal sacrifices, be them financial, family, whatever. And they have a very clear vision for how that's going to go. What they don't always have is the benefit of not being someone who's a maker, a technologist, an engineer, someone who has built this fantastic product but doesn't have the go to market expertise on the other side of it, right? Because they've sort of grown up in these amazing companies and had all of these ideas and learned how to build things really well, but not really how to sell them. And so actually the other day I was watching this fantastic clip and it was a clip of Steve Jobs, and someone in the audience at an Apple conference really got up and made sort of a really condescending, jeering remark about Steve Jobs, and he took this, like, amazingly long pause to answer and said that he felt like the person who was a technologist really was thinking about the technology first, and that the problem is in his seat, he has to know that that guy who was saying that thing was right, but at the same time, he needs to be building for the people who are gonna use it first and how he's going to get them to use it first. And I think that that's something that I run up against a lot, right? Is you have these people who are coming and they have this great technology and this vision for how people are going to use it, but they might not have a vision for how people are going to buy it or how people are actually going to use it. or they might not have a really good understanding of the pain that those people are facing in their individual jobs on any given day and how that technology is solving for it. So there comes this moment where it's like, we can't really talk about the features and benefits of this product anymore. It's amazing and it's great, but it would be so much more impactful if we were talking about the pain it was solving for your customers. And if we stopped talking about like how fast it moves and how much AI it has, and instead talked about like what it's going to solve and how it's going to make that person's day better. And that's really sometimes a really difficult bridge for people to get over.
Yeah, I love that. That's like I think this is like a common problem. Right? What you're saying is so spot on and so important because like many of us founders, we can be like super passionate about our product. What you're saying, right? Building on it for so long, and let's finally bring it into the market. But the thing is, and that's why you're like you being a CMO, but also you like helping these owners like in your own boutique is so important because you can have the best product in the world, but if you don't sell, your business is not gonna even gonna survive. So your product is just gonna diminish. What you're saying is like maybe even the most important thing while doing business. Like, is it actually a fit for the people you are solving? Are you actually solving an actual problem, right?
Right. And even if it is a fit, are you telling a story that makes them understand that it's a fit and that it's solving a problem for them? Or are you talking about to them about things that they don't necessarily care about? Bits and bytes and speed and AI and all of those things that founders are so excited to talk about sometimes.
So it's not even about the description of the product, but more about like, hey, which pain point are you solving, and are you actually bringing out this pain point in the way you're presenting yourself towards these customers? How are you guys acquiring new customers at the moment?
We have a dual approach. So we have what I call we have a 97% approach. So the 97% of people who are not prepared to buy yet, but we're trying to convince them that when they are, Vetty is the first call that they should make. And then we have the 3% approach. And the 3% approach is those people who are ready to buy. Vetty does really well with the 3% at a live event and doing a lot of shows. We have an amazing sales team able to showcase in real time to people who are ready to buy, who are already in a decision-making group, traveling around with them. There's a couple people representing individual companies that we can showcase to all at once how we're a single unified platform that we can make bespoke changes in the way that we set them up so that it's customized by role or by company or even like individual department. And so that's really easy for the 3%, I think. Where it gets tricky is the 97%, where definitely we're a commoditized item. So we're something that people in a highly regulated industries need to have, but we're not always something that people are looking to rip and replace because adoption is hard and getting people to feel comfortable is hard. And in staffing, specifically, sometimes, you can't get the whole chunk of the business due to contracts of the people you're serving. With those folks, my approach for a lot of the startups I work with is to stand out from the crowd. There's a lot of sameness in this industry specifically. If you were to look up our competitive set, there's a lot of navy blue and emerald green and serif fonts, and they look very much, they're like a financial institution, and you should trust them and whatnot. And what at Vetty, we're really onto the human side. We provide an excellent candidate experience. It's not a black box. We're about providing details on both sides of the equation. So at any time, a human who's getting their background screening can go in and look at it and know where they are in the background check sort of queue of things happening, and so can the users. And so we take this really human element and we try to disperse that humanity through all of our marketing efforts. We'll do things through Google and Meta, sure, because that's sort of table stakes, but then also reaching really bespoke audiences where we're getting on HR tech specific podcasts, and we're doing a standout commercial that's really different than something else in the competitive set would do to make ourselves differentiated and get that 3 seconds of attention, but at the same time, we're where the audience is.
Yeah, I love this thing. This is like which we see like from our own experience, which is very important because most companies they focus on the 3% and which are always ready to buy. They know they have a problem, but what you're saying here is very interesting. The biggest opportunity is not in these 3% because there's like the other 97%. We may not even know they have an issue yet, or it might not even be as urgent yet. But if you get in touch with those people, right, and you ask them the right questions, they start to realize like maybe, hey, Vetty is something I need right now. And sometimes it just takes a little bit more time, but because it takes more time, as with anything in life, the things which makes more time are usually like are yielding the best results.
Yes, they're definitely, I think, yielding better results and also creating relationships, which I think is difficult in today's environment, but those relationships pay off in the end.
Yeah, completely makes sense. All the knowledge you've gained among the years, like you having your own boutique, like you being you being the CMO of Vetty, with all the knowledge you've gained, if there could be like one thing you could do differently, if you could go back in time with all the knowledge you're having right now as we're speaking, like what's one thing you would do differently?
I think earlier in my career, I tried very hard to know about everything and really focus on like, if I'm going to be, the best marketer and one day get to be a CMO, I need to know how to do everybody's job and I need to know it super intimately. And what I've learned over time is there are people who are gifted in different areas, and I don't need to be gifted in all of them. I just need to hire them. And so I think one of the biggest lessons that I've learned over time is like, you don't need to know everything. You just need to hire really smart people and let those really smart people do their thing. And if you do that and there's still a strategic vision that you're all laddering up to, what you'll have is like this amazing symphony that everything works together and everything comes together. And you have to be the conductor. You don't have to know how to play like the trumpet and the saxophone and the violin. That part is, the beauty of bringing all of the people together under a single strategy.
Love that. So, and I think like right nowadays, where there may be companies like Vetty, you don't have to do everything yourself anymore. If you are a founder, there are just certain people who are very good in what they're doing, but these people who are very good in what they're doing, they might not be so good in the other part, which is also needed in business. And I think especially as a founder, part of being a founder is just like solving challenges every single day. But like the way to solve challenges is to have a certain system in place and the right people in place. We can solve these challenges in the most efficient way possible.
100%. I think, the future is moving more fractional. So hiring individual groups, or if you can't bring them in-house because you're trying to do more with less, to outsource certain things works as well.
Yeah, completely makes sense. And when you were young, were you like a fan of Harry Potter?
My God, I am still a fan of Harry Potter. In fact, I have Harry Potter books holding up my microphone
Hey,
right now.
universe, and I'm asking you this question. Like me as well. I read like all the books when I was young. I was watching all the movies. And let's say you could be maybe you could be not Harry Potter but Hermione. Let's say you could be Hermione for one day. And you can like hold the magic staff of Hermione. Like with this magic staff, you could solve any problem in Vetty just in a couple of seconds. What problem would you choose with this magic staff of Hermione?
Well, we're really blessed at Vetty because we have an amazing team, and our team has moved together from company to company a couple times already. Nicknamed ourselves serial scalers because we've moved about 4 companies together. I wouldn't want to solve anything from a team perspective because I think that we're amazing. What I think I would love to do is, I don't know, like get like 1 year's funding up front so we could really speed to execute all of the things in our vision. You're sort of in a scaling situation. You're always just a few months ahead. I think if I had a magic wand, I'd just like get all of that up front so we could do all of these amazing things and bring them to market. And we'll get there, just not as quickly as my like very hyper self wants to.
That's usually a thing in business. We're so passionate about what we're doing. So we want to do everything at once, but sometimes like the best thing we have to do it like with pace, right? We have to like sometimes slow ourselves down in order for us to achieve the best results in the long term as well. And Then talking about the same topic which you just mentioned, like what are some of the goals you're having, let's say in the next 6 to 12 months from now?
Sure. We have some product goals, and those I'm not really at liberty to talk about right at the moment. But they're exciting. They're super exciting. But then in addition to that, we really have primarily had huge exposure inside the staffing world. So the team that was here previous did a great job attacking that 3%, going to staffing shows, making a name for Vetty in staffing. My goal right now is to make as big of a name for us in the enterprise space. I want everybody in the enterprise space to know who Vetty is, to know why we stand out from the competition, to know why our technology is better, why we're faster.
Yeah, very nice. And last question, and I think it's going to be a very interesting question. The best question of today's podcast.
I don't know. I think Harry Potter was pretty high up there. Like, Harry Potter is my guy.
Especially because you have this, okay, maybe this is going to be the second best question of the podcast. With all the knowledge you've learned among the years, like you having your own boutique, you like being part, like you being a CEO, CMO, you like really helping these founders overcoming challenges so they can really grow their company. If you just could give away like one piece of advice towards the founders who are watching the podcast and they can start implementing this piece of advice straight away. As they finish the podcast, they can say like, hey, I can just start implementing it straight away. What kind of piece of advice would you give to these founders who are watching the podcast right now?
Do your business model first. Focus on your building your business model more than you focus on anything else. I think sometimes founders, because they come from one part of like an experience lane or another, they sort of know that. And so they talk to a lot of people and they get a lot of advice. And sometimes that advice means that they're constantly moving the mark of where they're trying to get to or how they're trying to get there. So I think if they spend a relentless amount of time and precision on the business model and get some of that advice up front, and then are just executing on it and finding partners and people that can help bring that to life, that would be the best thing that they can do. I think moving the target proves really difficult for them.
Yeah, it makes sense, right? Because if you're actually going into the market, but you don't even have like a solid foundation, right? You don't have your house built, so to say, right? That means like when you want to go to market, you're still trying to build your house. You can keep moving because once you are into the market, there's a lot of wind coming into your house. And if it's not stable enough, your house is kind of fall off, right? That's what you're saying. But if you have a stable house and you build it, like you go where you want to go, it's a lot easier to stay close towards where you really want to go. I think that's what
Right.
you're
It's not
saying,
to
right?
say not to take advice and to consult with people, but I think doing it on the front end versus the back end is the way to go.
Yeah, completely makes sense. And Michelle, for the people who are watching the podcast, like how can they connect with you, Fetty, or even your boutique? What are the ways?
So you can connect with me on LinkedIn. That's sort of the easiest way. Find me on LinkedIn. My consultancy is there. My email is there. All of those good things. If you're interested in Vetty, I'd say go to the website. It's real simple. It's vetty.co.co. And we'd love to see you in a demo.
Yeah, Michelle, thanks so much for being on the podcast, for sharing all your value. I'm going to make sure for everyone who's watching the podcast to put your links and Vetty and your boutique down in the description below so people can easily find it. Everyone, thanks for tuning in. See you in the next episode. Thank you, Michelle.
Thanks, Joey.